Hello, it's Oliver here. This time we're not just going to look at one college basketball game, we're going to look at two, specifically the rivalry between Michigan and Purdue, which to me is one of the more underrated rivalries in the Big Ten. They've already played twice this season, about 2 weeks apart in January. Purdue won the first game at Michigan by a point, and in the return leg in West Lafayette, Purdue won again after a pretty crazy second half. They just were able to pull away at the end. So this first video is going to be about the Michigan offense and the Purdue defense, and then we're going to swap around in the next one. So according to KenPom, as of February 3rd, Michigan is ranked 48th on offense and Purdue is ranked 11th on defense. So that would indicate that Purdue has the advantage on that side of the floor. However, if we come down to these points of emphasis, we'll see why I disagree with that. Like Michigan, admittedly I haven't watched a lot of Michigan this year. I've watched these two games against Purdue and their game against Michigan State when I was on TV. But just from what I've seen, whereas Purdue run their offense regardless of the opponent, so Purdue will run what they usually run regardless of if it's Northwestern or Minnesota or Nebraska or Michigan. Michigan adapt their offense to manipulate the defensive deficiencies in Purdue's roster. By that I mean they spread the floor with their naturally small lineup to remove Haas, who's 7'2", 300 pounds, and his backup Harms, who's 7'2", 230 pounds, from the basket. And through high screens and dribble handoffs, Michigan placed their guards, such as Rakeman, Matthews, and Simpson, onto Purdue's centers, Haas and Harms, and put Michigan's forwards, such as Wagner, onto Purdue's smaller guards, such as Carson Edwards or PJ Thompson. So Michigan's really trying to create mismatches in personnel, so put their big guys on small guys and their small guys on big guys, and really trying to make the most of that speed. So let's get into some video. We won't look at any stats. Let's go straight into the video. So we're not going to start off with the games this year. We're going to look at games from last year, specifically the Big Ten quarterfinal, which Michigan won. It was a close game, went to overtime. Purdue were the regular season conference champs, and when it came to the tournament, Michigan were able to get them, but using a game plan that they first developed here, and then they would bring it back into 2018. So it's good to see where that plan first came from. Michigan plays really a naturally small lineup. They've got no natural centers. Wagner is the closest equivalent, and he plays more like a forward around the perimeter. He shoots threes. He drives to the basket. He's never in the low post backing anyone down unless he gets such a significant matchup where it's irresistible not to. So here's an example of last year. It's going to point Haas out. He's pretty obvious. He's the big one in the middle of the floor. At the moment, he's guarding DJ Wilson, who got drafted in the NBA draft. And he's more of a forward. He's definitely not a center. So already Michigan have got a matchup that they like. So he's going to bring out Haas to the perimeter. Receive the ball. And then is going to be able to beat him off the dribble because Haas just can't laterally move that quickly for a person his size. Now here they aren't able to successfully get the switch, but they are really try. So watch number 34 in this clip and see how he really tries to switch Haas onto a smaller number 10. So one screen, two screen, third screen, and Derek Walden just eventually chucks one up. He gets it in. But it really shows the intent of Michigan to try and swap those smaller guards onto Purdue's bigger players. And that brings us into this year. So that's what they try to do. So Haas again. This is at Ann Arbor, obviously. He's got Wagner guarding him. Guarding Wagner, who brings him all the way out to the perimeter. Swaps it on to Simpson for Michigan, who's able to get past him for a difficult layup, but a layup that he would not have been able to get if Haas had been anchored down in the paint. Haas moving laterally and is just not able to get up that high when he's in that sort of position. This time, what Michigan do is with Wagner, they bring Haas out to the perimeter away from the basket. So when Michigan drives to the basket, which they're going to do with Rakeman here, there's no one there to block the shot. So Haas, stuck on the perimeter guarding a shooter, is not able to block shots. Similar thing here. Wagner's going to bring Haas out. Now there's no one to block a shot. It's a difficult shot that Simpson, I believe, has to make. But because there's no one there guarding the rim, there's no one to block it. Haas, especially with his massive size, it's an easier layup than it could have been because it was all the way out on the perimeter. Same again. Here comes Wagner. And Matthews is able to run around Haas for an easier layup than he could have been. And Haas's backup, Matt Harms, gets the same treatment. This time Simpson crashes the drives. Just going to restart that clip. Simpson here, he drives to the basket. Harms has to try and recover, crashing in folding in the whole defense. They're able to kick it out to an open three-point shooter who gets it in. So along with Haas, the Purdue player they like to put in the pick and roll is Carson Edwards. Carson Edwards, of the 5 starters of Purdue, is the only one who is not a center. He's the only one who's not a senior. He's a sophomore. He's in his second year, and it really shows with his inexperience on defense. He really gets targeted quite a lot with Haas. It's apparently, according to Basketball Reference, he has the 3rd best defensive win shares at 1.4, but when you watch it, that's not really that evident. In this situation here, he's looking for help defense from the wing, but he never really gets it. I mean, the person he was marking, Rakeman, scored 26 points in this game because Michigan really tried to target him. Same again, he's just not able to, he just doesn't have the size or athleticism to keep up and also contest with those shots. And Haas can't either because he's out on the perimeter. Same again, he does a whole 360 this time, doesn't know where the ball is, open shot, doesn't go in. But again, that just shows his weakness in that situation. Carson Edwards, again, same thing. Haas is out on the perimeter, he can't block any shots. Edwards doesn't have the athleticism to keep up, he's just too small, and he's expecting that help defense that's never really coming. So from those 2 clips that you would have seen, Haas is really easily beaten through the dribble. He gets run around really easily, especially when he's out in so much space. And Michigan really also took advantage of that because Haas, he doesn't want to go out, so he sags quite far behind the 3-point line. So if we just keep this here, that's where he wants to stay. He wants to stay a few feet just below the 3-point line, just so he can have some, just so he can react quicker to anyone who tries to beat him off the dribble. However, this creates wide open 3-point shots for Michigan, 51% from 3 against Purdue in the 2 games. I mean, Matthews there, he scored 14 points at Michigan. 3 of them were 3-pointers, and 2 of them are here. So again, Haas is just sagging back, doesn't want to commit to anything, open 3-point shot. This time we've got Simpson, he's going to commit the same thing. Haas, he's sagging back, especially he doesn't want to get beat by Simpson, who's really quick, so open 3-point shot, gets it in. Now, of course, alternatively, when you swap a smaller player onto a bigger player like Haas, that means a bigger player's gone onto a smaller player. Now, Michigan didn't make the most of this matchup. They usually went for the smaller on big, but in this case, they did go for big on small. Wagner, who's their biggest player, relatively to the rest of their team, here is switched on to PJ Thompson, and he gets the ball in the low post, beats him, and then eventually gets the layup in. So they do sometimes go to that matchup. When we come to the very next play, we've got PJ Thompson, number 11 here. After switching Wagner back onto him, he's terrified and tries to switch back off him, and he's like, oh, no, and keeps an open 3-point. So if we just go back, watch PJ Thompson. Tries to get off Wagner as soon as it happens. No, switch, please, and then, open 3-point shot. So that's a matchup that Michigan also went to. Another way Michigan could score, and a way I would recommend them to score in the future, is through transition against Purdue. Because they've got such big players, they're just not going to be able to run and commit. They're just not going to be able to get back in time to commit any sort of rebounding, or they're not going to be able to block any shots, especially when Michigan have got so much faster players. So in this instance, we've got Matt Harms. Just going to restart that one again as my organizer lagged. So he's going to commit a turnover, and watch Simpson just runs back, and Haas is not able to get there. Sorry, that's not Haas. Harms is not able to get there and commits an and one. So I've just got the one example. There were plenty of examples of Michigan just being able to outspeed Purdue in the transition. And that's exactly what Michigan should try to do, speed up the game so they don't have to deal with any sort of Purdue size in the half-court sets. So just to elaborate on that point of how strong Isaac Haas is in that sort of low post area, I just want to play here a block compilation, really, just to show how good he is. He had 5 blocks against Michigan between the 2 games. Especially when you try and attack him when he's anchored in the paint, it's just really hard to get any sort of layup or dunk opportunity because he's just so strong in there. There's just no point at trying to drive at him. You've got to really bring him out to the perimeter if you want to get any sort of success. Here he's able to trail back, smack it out of his hands and get it back to Purdue. I just want to replay this last clip because, again, this is a situation where he's out on the perimeter. What he was able to really kind of adjust to is almost just letting the player come past him and then running back and blocking it from behind. So here he's one-on-one with Simpson. He almost lets him go past him and then is able to block the shot from behind, so he's able to recover. Harms was probably just as good a blocker as Haas. The stats say he's a better blocker. He's got a 15% block percentage and an average 2.7 blocks per game. The eye test says that he's not as good as Haas, but he's certainly quicker and is able to get back to the rim quicker and block more shots. So in situations where there was a pick and roll with Haas out on the perimeter with another Purdue guard, especially with Purdue's second team, they were able to defend it quite well. Secretly, or sneakily, Purdue's best defender is their backup, one of their backup point guards, Ryan Klein. Or he could be a forward, but he's certainly a smaller player. But he's also just very smart. He knows exactly where to be and when to be there. So when someone comes out onto the pick and roll for Michigan, and then that, in this case, this is also Michigan's second team, and their center's a guy called John Teskey, who's here with Haas. When he then rolls to the basket, what Klein does really well is picks up that roller, as well as is able to guard his shooter on the perimeter. So he's kind of guarding 2 people with just him. So we watch how Haas is going to be committed to this pick and roll, and then boom, Ryan Klein is able to smartly guard that player while also guarding number 1. He's going to slide back to number 1 and stop the whole Michigan movement. Forces a bad 3-point shot and they get the rebound. So we're just going to replay that last clip. Here she does it twice. He does it earlier in this play as well. He does it here. He gets the roller, flies back to his man Matthews. This time here it's more pronounced. Guards Teskey, comes back onto number 1, and that's that action killed. Now it's just a bad 3-point shot, and they can get the rebound. Here they do it again. First, number 20 Easton does it. So he's the first person to watch in the first action, and then Klein again on the second action is able to guard 2 people with just himself. So watch Easton here. in this initial pick and roll. Easton is able to come into the lane, guards him, goes back out to a shooter. Now Ryan Klein does the same thing, guards 15, goes back out to a shooter and forces a bad shot. Michigan just get the offensive rebound, which seemed to be a problem for Purdue. Michigan seemed to have got a lot of offensive rebounds. And just this last clip, same thing, it's Vincent Edwards and Matt Harms. So Vincent Edwards here is able to seamlessly switch. He picks up the big man, then goes back out to Livers, and is able to guard that 2 people with one man. Let's replaying that clip again. Just watch that interaction between Vince Edwards and Matt Harms in the center here. So when this roller comes flying down, Vince Edwards can pick him up. Matt Harms can guard the ball handler and then go back onto his man pretty seamlessly. I believe Michigan score here off a really bad shot. Yeah, they do. But that initial action was killed and they forced a really bad contested 3-point shot. So, just to kind of summarize all of that, Michigan. If I was Michigan, what I would do is I would really attack, continue attacking Carson Edwards and Isaac Haas in the pick and roll. I'd make sure that Haas is also away from the paint at all times, because from that block compilation that we saw, he's just really strong with it and there's no point of attacking him at any point. So I'll just really target Haas, get those 3-point shots when he sags, commit Carson Edwards, and just really attack that matchup. I'd also post up more often because they really didn't do that enough, and when it worked, it really did work. It really worked. Spread Isaac Haas onto the perimeter, bring him out of the equation, and then post up a smaller Purdue guard with someone big once he's been switched on to him. So, yep, that's all I've got. There should also be part 2 in the description, as well as some links to some code windows and my email if you ever need to talk to me about something SportsCode related. So, sweet. Thank you.